She had nothing left, no food, no shelter, only her dying child and the frozen wasteland that would bury them both. In the silence of the snow, she sang one last lullaby, soft and trembling, believing it would be the final sound her child ever heard.
But then, crunch.
A single pair of human footsteps broke through the stillness. One man, against the impossible cold, had come not to conquer, not to scavenge, but to save. And what he found buried in the snow would change all their lives forever. The snow had not stopped falling for 3 days. It came in silence, no thunder, no storm roars, just a constant, smothering descent of white that erased tracks, buried memories, and devoured what little warmth remained in the dying world. Ezra's arms ached from holding her daughter so tightly, and yet she dared not loosen her grip, not with how cold her child's skin had grown, not with how faint her breathing now came. The small body wrapped against her chest barely stirred. There was no shelter left, no cave, no heat cell, no tribe hut. It had all been lost in the raid, first to the mercenaries, then to the avalanche that came roaring down as if nature itself had decided to finish the massacre the off-worlders had started. Ezra had run, climbed, fallen, scraped her knees raw to escape with one thing only, her daughter. Tiny Luma had stopped crying hours ago. That was what scared Ezra most. Crying meant there was still strength to resist, lungs to use. Silence meant the last reserves were fading, and all Ezra had left was her voice. So she did what the mothers of her line had done when death crept close, she sang.
Not loud. Not for help. No one was coming. She knew that.
It was a lullaby, soft, aching, a promise in notes that the cold could not take everything.
Her voice cracked often. Her lips were bleeding. But the song went on.
She didn't even know if Luma could hear it, if the little girl tucked into her chest was still listening.
But she kept going.
The snow was too thick to see past 10 paces. The trees had long since vanished behind veils of white. Somewhere in the haze, metal fragments jutted from the ground, the remains of fallen dropships, maybe. Ezra leaned against one now, her back pressed to cold alloy, feeling every ounce of her body failing.
She was ready.
Ready to give the last of her warmth to Luma. She didn't know if it would be enough, but it was all she had left to give. So she sang the lullaby, one last time.
Then sound. Not from her, not from her child, but from beyond. A crunch. Then another. Boots. Heavy, deliberate. Her heart stopped. Raiders?
Scavengers? If they found her, if they took Luma, she had nothing left to fight with. She curled tighter, shielding the girl with her own frame.
More footsteps now. Close.
A shadow emerged through the white, tall, broad, unmistakably humanoid, clad in thick dark armor that steamed against the cold. She didn't dare move. The figure paused a few meters away, then spoke. Are you alive?
The voice was deep, but calm. Male. Human.
Her kind had never met them before the war, but the stories had spread.
Ruthless. Efficient.
Warm-blooded conquerors who claimed they came to stop the pirates, but who rarely stayed once the danger passed. Ezra opened her mouth, only a whisper came. My child. The figure stepped forward. The snow swirled around him like ghosts, but he kept coming. You're not with the mercs, he said. Are you injured?
She shook her head.
She's freezing. The man knelt, pulling a small scanner from his belt. Let me check her. Ezra didn't resist. She had no strength left to resist anything. The scanner beeped. Vitals low, real low. But she's alive. A strange breath escaped her, half sob, half gasp. The man tapped something on his gauntlet. Command, this is Cole. I've got 2 survivors. One adult female, one juvenile, xenoform, frost exposure critical. Requesting immediate evac beacon drop. Static crackled in his earpiece, but he didn't wait for confirmation. Instead, he reached into his pack and pulled out a heat blanket, tucking it around Luma, then offering another to Ezra. She took it without question. The warmth made her dizzy. The man didn't ask more questions. He simply scooped up Luma, gently, carefully, then extended a hand. Come on. There's a mobile shelter 2 clicks south. We'll make it. She stared at his hand. It was rough, worn, but strong. She took it. They walked for what felt like hours, but must have only been minutes. Time blurred in snow and adrenaline. Ezra stumbled more than once, but Cole kept her upright. When they reached the shelter, a camouflage drop pod converted into a heat chamber. He set Luma down on the medic slab and activated the field heater. Warmth flooded the space. Ezra collapsed beside her daughter, both wrapped in synthetic thermal layers. Cole worked quickly, hydration IVs, stimulant patches, breathing mask. He moved like someone who'd done this before, many times. She'll make it, he said finally. But she needs rest, and so do you. Ezra's hands trembled as she touched Luma's cheek, still cold but no longer lifeless.
Why did you stop? She asked. Why help?
Cole leaned back against the wall, removing his helmet. His face was worn, with gray stubble and eyes that had seen too much. Because I heard the singing.
She blinked. What?
I was mapping terrain, picked up a faint harmonic signature on the subchannel.
A voice.
You.
He looked at her.
That lullaby, cut through the static. I thought it was some old calm drift, until I heard it again.
She stared at him.
You found us because I sang?
Cole nodded.
And because I was close enough to care. That hit something deep in her. The world hadn't been close enough.
The tribes.
The elders.
The patrols. All had moved on.
But this human, one lone stranger, had heard her voice and walked into the snow. Luma stirred 2 days later. Her first word was warm. Ezra cried, louder than she'd ever dared. Cole stepped back, letting them hold each other. He never intruded. Never asked for thanks. But when Ezra looked at him, really looked, she saw something aching behind his calm. A man without a people. A soldier without a war. He told her he'd been stationed on a dozen relief worlds. Always the same story. Show up after the worst had happened, patch who he could, move on. Most don't want us staying, he said. We're the reminder of who didn't make it.
But Ezra wasn't most.
The third day, she asked if he'd stay longer. Just until she walks again.
He nodded.
The 6th day, she asked him to teach Luma basic Terran. He did, patiently, smiling as the little girl learned the words for friend and safe. On the 10th day, Ezra found herself singing again, not lullabies, but something brighter. And when she caught Cole watching her with that quiet gaze, she didn't look away. There was something building now. Not just recovery. Not just gratitude. Something real. Something warm. Luma's recovery came faster than anyone expected. Each day she sat up longer, spoke louder, smiled wider. Her frostbitten fingers, once curled stiff against death, now moved with childlike curiosity as she played with the old Terran puzzle cubes Cole had in his pack. Ezra watched her, the lump in her throat never quite fading. She'd already lost Luma once, and now, even though the child lived, she couldn't stop reaching out, just to be sure she was real. Every hour that passed was a gift. One no tribe elder, no medic caravan, no god had given her.
Only Cole.
The human who had heard her song when no one else had listened. He didn't speak of what came next, not yet, but he stayed.
He cooked.
He tended to the heater. He fixed the small rip in Luma's boot. He carried melted snow for their bathwater and smiled as Luma insisted on helping stir their ration stew. Ezra noticed the way his eyes softened when Luma called him Ko, the closest she could get to Cole. The name made him chuckle each time, though there was something sad behind the smile, like he hadn't been called anything soft in a long time. By the 7th day, Luma could walk again. Wobbling, giggling, stubborn, like nothing had ever broken. Ezra had asked Cole then, quietly, what would happen after. His answer was simple. Whatever you want to happen.
That stunned her.
No human had ever said that to her before. Her kind were always told what they could expect, where to go, what camp to report to, what aid packet to collect.
But Cole was different. He didn't offer rules. He offered choice.
That was more frightening than any order. She sat outside the shelter that night, watching the stars flicker through breaks in the storm clouds. Cole joined her, setting down a steaming mug in her hands. Still can't sleep. She shook her head. I keep waking up thinking I'm still in the snow. That she's still in my arms, not breathing.
Cole nodded.
I used to wake up hearing gunfire, sometimes still do.
She looked at him.
What did you lose? He didn't answer for a long time. When he did, his voice was rough.
A brother.
Not by blood, but close enough. He bled out in my arms.
I couldn't stop it. The medics were too far.
I held him until he went cold. Ezra's hand found his without thinking. I'm sorry. Cole gave her a faint smile. You and me, we both know what it means to hold someone who might never breathe again. They sat in silence. But not the same silence as before. This was warmer, thicker. Not lonely, but full. She didn't let go of his hand. The days passed gently. Cole began fixing the external comms relay, said he could get a signal out in another week.
A rescue team would come. A real one.
Ezra found herself dreading it. Not because she didn't want safety, but because it might mean goodbye. Luma followed Cole everywhere now, copying his movements, his speech, even asking him to show her how to march like a soldier. He laughed, real laughter, and did it, boots crunching softly in rhythm as the tiny girl stomped behind him. Ezra watched it all unfold like a dream. It would have made no sense a month ago, a Terran soldier and an alien child giggling in a snowfield while an orphaned mother watched, her heart so full it ached.
On the 15th day, the comm lit green. Signal locked.
Cole stared at it for a long time before activating it.
Command, this is Cole Hart.
I'm transmitting coordinates for civilian evac.
2 passengers. 1 adult, 1 juvenile.
Local species, cleared for cross-quarantine.
Please advise.
The reply crackled back within minutes.
Confirmed Hart. ETA 4 days. Make ready.
Ezra heard every word, and her stomach twisted.
4 days. That was all. She looked at Cole. He met her eyes.
You still have the choice, he said softly. I meant that.
She didn't answer. Not yet.
The question was too big for words.
That night, she cried.
Not out of fear, but confusion. How could something so beautiful have come from such a cold grave? Luma was asleep beside her.
Safe. Breathing.
But what now? She wasn't just mourning the past, she was terrified of the future. Cole had given her more than warmth. He'd given her hope, and hope, once planted, demanded a place to grow.
The next morning, she didn't ask. She told.
We want to come with you.
Cole froze. You're sure? She nodded.
Not just for rescue.
For a future. With you. He didn't answer at first. Just looked at her. Then at Luma. Then at the sky.
You know it won't be easy, he said. Earth doesn't always welcome outsiders. Not like it should.
Ezra stepped forward. Do you? He blinked. Do I what? Welcome us.
Cole's voice was quieter than she'd ever heard. More than anything. They spent the last 3 days packing what little they had. Cole adjusted the medgear for Luma's size. Ezra helped him reinforce the shelter's beacon for the pickup crew. And when it came, rising through the clouds on retro thrusters, the gunship casting warm orange light across the snow, Ezra didn't feel fear.
She felt ready.
The crew that stepped out looked confused at first. 2 aliens bundled in Terran gear, and a hardened soldier holding a small girl's hand. You bringing them aboard? One of the officers asked.
Cole nodded. They're with me.
No one argued.
The doors opened.
The ship took them far, across oceans of stars, through silent drift space corridors. Ezra held Luma close every time the engines flared.
Cole stayed close. Always close.
He talked to the med techs. Explained the cultural differences. Watched Luma like a hawk when she got sick from the gravity shifts. She called him Ko more and more now, sometimes even Koda. The word for father in her tongue. Cole pretended not to notice.
But Ezra did.
And every time Luma said it, something lit in Cole's eyes like a torch. They were granted settlement rights on the northern belt of New Anchorage, an Earth-aligned colony. The house wasn't big, just 2 rooms and a garden pod, but it had heat, light, and a roof that held back storms. Cole used his pension to register Luma for early school. Ezra started tending the local greenhouse. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a raider. She was a mother.
A grower. A singer.
And at night, when the wind brushed against the walls and Luma slept under the soft hum of Earth-made stars, Ezra sang again.
Not in mourning. Not in fear. But in thanks.
Her voice had once been the last hope echoing across frozen death. Now it was something else entirely.
A beginning.
Cole stood beside her, most nights, watching. He never asked her to stop. Sometimes he even hummed along. He was not a man of many words, but when he held her hand now, it was not out of duty. It was because it felt like home. One evening, long after the thaw had come and Luma was off at school, Ezra sat beside Cole on their small porch.
She looked at him, really looked.
You know, she said, on that day, I thought we were going to die. I sang because I wanted her to feel loved, even if it was the last thing she heard. Cole looked back at her, his voice soft. It was the first thing I heard that felt alive in weeks.
She smiled. And now?
Cole squeezed her hand gently. Now I hear you every day, and I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. No gods had come that day.
No armies. No promises.
Just one human, walking through the snow, who listened, and answered.